And now we go to our ongoing series, Afghanistan Down the Road. With the Taliban's recent claim to power, there has been a promise for a new era of peace in Afghanistan, citing an amnesty for those they have been battling against for 2 decades. But many in Afghanistan's Hazara community fear that the country's fall to the Taliban would once again increase the risk of persecution. Our correspondent Danial Khan visits a Hazara majority district in central Afghanistan to get their feelings on the ground.
As the Taliban works to cement its countrywide power, it faces a hurdle in persuading the Hazara community, a sizable 20% of Afghanistan's population, that it has a place under its rule. This graveyard in Yakulang is a stark reminder of a history of brutal and systematic marginalization under the previous Taliban regime during 1996 and 2001. As 33 years old, Abbas Haidari visits his father's grave, vivid memories of Taliban's previous rule flash before his eyes.
I remember when the Taliban took control of Yakulang. It was 7:30 in the morning. I was 12 years old. They came to Yakulang and started gathering men from all the houses, old people, young men, even children. Whoever they saw, they took. The Taliban took my father, my brother-in-law, my cousin, and I waited for them to return. When we heard that they would not return, we fled to the mountains, and from there, we saw the Taliban line up the men in 2 rows and begin shooting them.
Reportedly, over 300 people were killed in the Yakulang massacre of January 2001. Among them were teachers, doctors, shepherds and farmers. Abbas says even though he saw men getting killed, he still waited for 3 days for his father to return.
After 3 days, I came down from the mountain with my younger brother. It was only us and a few other boys. There was no one else to help us carry the dead bodies. That day, we buried my father and 24 other people. Among the dead were children and elderly men.
The Hazara have historically been some of the poorest and most marginalized people in Afghanistan. They have traditionally lived in the rough mountainous terrain in the center of Afghanistan, an area where they historically sought shelter from Pashtun tribesmen who disapproved of their adherence to the Shiite sect of Islam.
Hazaras have been persecuted for 274 years in Afghanistan. During these years, ethnic groups always took Hazaras as threats. Because of their ideologies, their open-minded beliefs, and their openness, they tried to remove them.
Those who have lived in areas controlled by the Taliban in their previous regime watched with growing fear as they took over the country while international forces left. But the Taliban say they need not worry.
All the minorities that live in Afghanistan, we are ready to protect them, and we want to reassure them that they will have complete freedom to follow their beliefs. Just like we need protection, they also need protection, and we are there to safeguard them.
Abbas says he cannot change the past, but he is worried for the future, and he ties his hopes with the Taliban's reassurances.
I don't know if those people were killed intentionally or unintentionally, but right now, we need to think of a solution. We are very poor people. Winter is coming and winter is very long here. We want the new Taliban government to help us because the previous governments of Karzai and Ashraf Ghani neglected us. And we expect the Taliban to help us and focus on us.
Even after living a tragedy for the last 20 years, many in Afghanistan are ready to forgive, believing that the Taliban have changed. But it remains to be seen whether the group delivers on its promises or rolls back 2 decades of gains by ethnic minorities and other marginalized communities. Danial Khan, CGTN, Yakulang District, Afghanistan.